Hello and welcome to another episode of Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host and voice of Tiger football, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me, as always, Coach Russell. Coach Russell, you go on the road and your first Mid-South Conference matchup, you're able to pick up a big win against a conference opponent in Cumberland Phoenix. It had to feel pretty good, at least especially getting that first win under your belt in the Mid-South Conference, as well as picking up your third in a row.
Yeah, first three-game win streak in 6 seasons, first road conference win in 3 seasons. So, talk to our team a lot about, making history, turning the tide, doing things in the program, either for the first time or for the first time, in a while. And it's just a testament to their hard work. They're really bought in, doing what we ask, just really the discipline, week to week, day to day through practice. And it's just all a testament to our preparation. These guys practice so hard. Like we've talked about many times, our practices are a lot of times more physical even than the games. We really, have a high demand and put our guys under a lot of pressure in practice so that Saturdays, can kind of just be fun for them. And it was a really fun thing. Cumberland, great atmosphere. They've made a lot of enhancements since I had been there in 2014 was the last time. Really have, kind of poured into their football program. And that was a good team. Any road conference win, is a big deal, especially right now for our program.
So we'll take a look at some of the big players in this one at the box score. The Tigers take a win 34-16. Jagger Gillis throws for 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Luke Shepperson, 5 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. And our player of the game, Cale Hagan, he had 7 tackles. He also picked up a 22-yard pick six. And we were talking about it on air. There's probably not too many times that the defense is excited to head right back out onto the field, no more than when you end up with a pick six.
Yeah, huge pick-me-up in that situation. The offense, we were moving the ball pretty well, but just couldn't quite finish drives to get the ball in the end zone. We talked last week about that's the way that Cumberland want to play. They would want to kind of control the possession battle. They would want to kind of play an ugly, slower-paced game. They did a really good job of that right from the offset. We gave up a couple big returns in the punting game, something that we hadn't done all year. Responded great with that later in the game with a couple big kicks, some great coverage. But the defense picked us up. We were able to get that huge score before the half, and then came out, and really ideally would have liked to score as an offense, get a stop, score again, and get up. But the defense just huge there with the pick six from Cale. Defense just played awesome all night. I mean, forcing turnovers, pressuring the quarterback. Just great job, forcing their hand on their side of the ball. Coach Ford's just done an awesome job all year and his staff preparing those guys, and it's really just become a huge strength of our program. It's kind of taken all the pressure of the pressure off the offense to be perfect and score 50 points a game. We just know that we have a great defense, that our offense just has to be efficient. Obviously there's things on both sides of the ball to get better at, but really seeing all 3 phases of the game to come together. And, just all 3 play well. It puts us in a great position to go and win, road conference games.
It started out a little rough. They start out 9-0, and you kind of just feel the life sucked out of the sideline. But then it really flipped on its head. You go on 27 straight unanswered points. You take a 27-9 lead. What was the key to that turnaround? What was the adjustments that were made over on the sideline?
I think more than anything, what our staff took away from the game on Saturday was that our guys never felt like we weren't going to win the game and win the game, handily. And that comes from our preparation. That comes from what we're building. It's much bigger than on the field as a program, that belief, that culture, that confidence that we can be one of the best programs in the nation. We're going to play many games over the years where we do fall behind. We're going to have to chase and win. We're going to play games where we get ahead big and hold on and win the game. In this conference, you're going to play close games every week. Again, that's a good football team who had just came off 2 straight wins. And that was just a great feeling as a staff to, fall down. I know, like you said, have a couple kind of unique things happen with the big returns and just some, I don't believe in luck and coincidence, but some things where they did a really good job early in the game, controlling the game, getting down 9-0. Even with 2 minutes to go in the first half, only up 9-7. Just getting that score before the half was really huge. A drill we practice every week with the 2-minute. But just that belief and confidence that our guys showed, even when we got down early, that they really felt and believed that they were going to win the game. If we can keep that through the last half of the season, we can really do something special.
Now, it's not something we've really talked about too much on the show. I've talked about it on air when it's happened, but instant replay has came into the Mid-South Conference now, and we've seen it a few times, not too much. This game more so in particular with the targeting call, and that's really what they instituted it for. And Ellis Reed gets hit with a targeting. They go to review it, and thankfully it gets overturned. What was, maybe take us through what the conversation looks like on the sideline, if you're aware of kind of what they're looking at, what they go through when they're looking at it, and just how replay has really helped in this season.
Yeah, in that situation, just hoping and praying that, Ellis was able to stay in the game, and then obviously would impact the first half of the next game. As physical as our defense plays, flying around those things. I mean, sometimes in the game of football, helmet is going to make contact with another helmet. So really that was just a huge break for us. I mean, with us and, they did have a Jumbotron, and I don't remember if they showed the replay or not, but you're kind of just fingers crossed, hoping they're always going to review all the targeting penalties. And it's just a big break for us, that Ellis was able to stay in. He's obviously a huge part and a leader in our defense. So yeah, the replay is definitely an adjustment. I still haven't, thrown my first replay challenge yet. I got the flag in my back pocket. There's always a play or two in every game where you think, is this the time or not? And there's definitely strategy in it, right? It costs you a timeout. It costs you your challenge if you lose. But there's definitely going to be a time over these last 5 games where that flag will probably get thrown. It could be a big thing. I think overall it will be a positive in years to come for our conference. I think they're working out the kinks and everything. I think we do a great job here with ours. And overall the referees have handled it really well. So, you're going to win some of those, lose some of those. But, I think all things fair at the end of the day.
Tigers once again flourish in the passing game. They're outstanding. They lead the nation in a lot of passing categories as far as stats go, or if they're not, they're top 5. The rushing game, once again, really kind of struggled to get going. Is that a possible concern for you moving forward? Is that something that you look to maybe try to get going more heavy-handed, or is that something that you're not too worried about with the passing game going so well?
The great thing for our offensive line and Coach Lane being the leader to that is they really don't care where the yards come from. I mean, I think most offensive lines kind of are evaluated by how many yards did they rush for, how many sacks did they give up. A lot of times that's very deceiving. At the end of the day, they don't care if it's passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. They don't care if we throw for 400 one game and rush for 50. Next game it might be 200 rushing, 200 passing. We're obviously very capable and talented at the skill position. Jagger's doing a really good job managing and running the offense. We've got guys that can win those one-on-one matchups. A lot of what we do, the run game, even if it's not 200 yards, just being effective enough to give us a chance for the RPO, the play action, all those things to work is huge. And I actually think the run game kind of took a big step forward. We had way less, kind of your 1 to -2 yard runs. We had way more 4 to 6 yard runs. We had a couple big ones, just a holding penalty there took away a big one as well. But I actually think it took a step forward. A lot of times in college football, the sacks get deducted, so that can be a little deceiving. Even the QB run game, just the 3 or 4 times we did it in the game was, I think, a big difference maker. No doubt something that we're working on. A conversation we're having as coaching staff is how can we create some more explosive play opportunities in the run game. Our running backs are doing such a phenomenal job. They don't have a full-time position coach per se. I'm coaching them as well, so pray for them in that, and hopefully I'm doing a decent job. But man, they're doing such a good job, a selfless group, and there's so much things that they're doing, whether it's in pass pro, whether it's running a route that's getting somebody else open, whether it's run blocking, all these little things that don't show up in the stat sheet that the running backs are doing that are making a huge difference. So not concerned about the run game. It's just something that kind of a strength of our team, those type of things, focusing on that. And those two things feeding off each other. And again, just the run game is having a much bigger effect on the game than most people probably realize.
Well, when Trey Baskett's running north to south, the conference better watch out.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with Coach Ford here on Under Center with Jake Russell.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield, and I'm very excited to welcome into the studio our defensive coordinator, Coach Jody Ford. Coach Ford, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. We were talking about it before we went on. We kind of pass each other a lot, say some passing words. This is my first time actually getting to have a sit-down conversation with you. It's so nice to have you on, and I'm excited to kind of get to know about you a little bit more. Tell the Tiger faithful a little bit about yourself, kind of introduce yourself, where you've been, where you come from, and what brings you here to Campbellsville.
Gotcha. Well, I'm a small town guy. Came from Frankfort, Missouri, northeast Missouri. Population 474 people, depending on who's living and who's dying that day, kind of thing. But I was really blessed to have a great family. Born in a family of coaches and teachers. Had some great mentors along the way, and then blessed to be in this profession for almost 30 years. Gotten to know a lot of kids that have become like my own kids to me, all the way from New York to California to Hawaii. I got kids everywhere over the last, almost 30 years. And, and I've been fortunate to meet a lot of great coaches. I mean, Wade Phillips is a guy that I've really learned a lot from over the past 25 years or so, and just a great defensive coordinator and great family name in coaching. His son Wesley's offensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings now. Got to work with Willie Fritz for a number of years, who's the head coach at Tulane, and then Eric Morris, who's at North Texas now. And those are just to name a few, but guys that I really respect, that I've learned a lot from over the years.
So what has this year been like working with new coaches, new players, and just trying to really build a culture and a brand of football? You come in as the defensive coordinator. How has it been trying to build your brand of football and getting everything together? What's it been like in the locker room?
Well, I get stoked talking about our coaches and our team because starting with our coaches and starting from Coach Russell on down, man, it's fun every day. I mean, you got Coach O in there, who's a big old monster from Georgia, and he knows where all the good restaurants are, and we're always having a great time cutting up with him. And Coach Atwood's been here for over a decade or more, and just knows all the stuff. Is a great man of faith and runs our Fellowship of Christian Athletes and FCA, and then Coach Beatty coming in and working with our defensive secondary and just being able to relate to all those guys. And so I get to go into a defensive staff that has a wealth of experience that I can really just turn loose. It's nice for me as a defensive coordinator, like, this is what I'm thinking, what are you guys thinking? And all of a sudden I can put my feet up and let those three guys go to work, and they do a tremendous job, almost to the point where I don't even have to be there. And then same thing with Coach Russell. I mean, he is such a great offensive mind to go and practice against those guys every day. It makes us nothing but better. And that's something that as we build here, we want to build a defense that gets to the point where we're holding people under 10 points a game and keeping it low scoring. We want to, and we like great obstacles in front of us. We like the idea of playing teams that have great offenses, but we get to play one every day in practice that is very explosive and makes us nothing but better. And then going all the way to our players and guys that have been here, and you saw Cale Hagan have a great play and a pick for a touchdown. And like I was telling you, I think I was like Taylor Swift up in the press box rooting for Travis Kelce. We're banging on the windows and just fired up for Cale and the whole defense. And I love the demeanor of our defense, where they're getting to the point where they don't care what the score is. They don't care what's going on with the offense. All they care is about stopping people. And we're getting to the point where we're becoming more and more physical. But more than that, we're learning between the ears. like how to play the game from a cerebral standpoint. We're learning the intelligence of the game. And that's something that I'm very proud that our coaches are bringing to the table, and that our players are really receiving very well, and they're starting to teach it as well. When you think of a guy like Ellis Reed, who's becoming more of a leader every day on our team. We're missing Noah Gray right now. We hope to get Noah back at some point, whether it be this week or next week. You're seeing Moochie come on every day, and Michi and all those guys, and in our secondary, just Anton Fant and what he's brought to the table, and and then obviously what CJ Cutcliffe with the interceptions he's getting. I mean, just little by little, there's somebody else that's developing and moving forward and bringing our defense along. But it takes a village. We need everybody, and we sub a lot and we play a lot. We'd like to play 22 guys on defense if we can. But I'm blessed from top to bottom, from Coach Russell on down. I mean, I was a guy who had cancer back in 2013. I had open heart surgery in 2019. I've been in a lot of hospitals and seen a lot of things. So every day, I never have a bad day. Every day that I get to come out to practice or be on a bus ride or be with these kids and these coaches is an absolute blessing. And just I love this. I love this job, and it's not even like a job. It's terrific.
We'll break down this defense just a little bit here. What's it like? This defense has their backs pinned against the wall several times in the Union game. They come away with a strip sack. They come away with an interception in the end zone against Union. They do the same thing on the road against Cumberland. They get several big takeaways, a pick six, CJ Cutcliffe with another interception. What's it like having a defense that just goes out there and gets stops even when their back is against the wall?
Well, we expect that. I mean, we expect to play on a short field. We always talk about there are no external factors. It doesn't matter if you're playing on a 80, 90-yard field or you're playing on a 10-yard field. Your job is to stop the opponent. You have 3 downs to do it and really 4 downs to do it. And so that's the way we're trying to build it, like where we don't care where we're at, what we're doing, what the situation is. That is our job, absolutely, to go out and get the stop. And then the other aspect as far as the turnovers go, just the coaches, again, Coach Owens and Coach Atwood and Coach Beatty do such a great job every day of not only implementing tackling drills and sack drills and different drills that they're doing, but everything has a ball involved. It's always about, don't just make the tackle, but if the ball's showing, make tackle the football, make the tackle with the ball. And you're seeing guys like Miles Butler had a great strip coming from behind last week. You saw Tyler Ballard have a great strip on a tackle and force a fumble. The drill work and the preparation, like you hear Coach Russell talk about all the time, those are things that we attribute to practice, and it's a great job by our coaches and how they're bringing the guys along.
Now, you lose a star and a leader like Jacoby Miguel at the beginning. That's a tough blow, but this defense has really responded. Talk about these guys that have really stepped up into that role and have taken over and kind of become more pieces of what Jacoby Miguel was.
I think little by little the gel and the chemistry in the locker room. I mean, it's all about relationships before you can become a leader. It's like if I ask you to do something, it's going to be hard for you to really want to do it as a complete stranger. And so what we do with them off the field, their gel and their chemistry, their ability to build relationships off the field, and then now all of a sudden they get on the field and like, man, I'm willing to go through a wall for this guy. And we're trying to get them to the point where they're not only willing to go through a wall for the guy next to them, but that they're eager to do it, that they can't wait to go sacrifice and give up everything of themselves to try and make the team better. And so little by little, we're building that. We're building the humility that we need inside of our defense and inside of our team. And I think that little by little, you're seeing us go. I felt like we were a bad group in the spring. I felt like we became an average group as we got to the beginning of the season. Now we're starting to finally get to above average a little bit. And eventually I want to get to the point where we're not only good but great. And we're trying to build our way toward that. But I'd say right now we're just an above average defense that we're trying to get to that good and great status kind of thing.
Well, Coach Ford, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I can't wait to see this defense go up against a Faulkner team on Saturday.
Thank you all for your time and what you do. It's so exciting to be a part of college football and be through all that COVID stuff, and it's just a blessing every day to be involved, and just love seeing you guys, and thank you for all your energy and everything you bring to the game. So
thank you, Coach. When we get back, we'll talk with Coach Russell about the upcoming matchup with Faulkner University here on Under Center with Jake Russell.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
Hello and welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Coach, the Tigers go on the road once more. This is kind of the last bit of a road trip before you get a good month or so at home, including your bye week. Faulkner struggled a little bit this season, especially after a really good season last year. They started 1-3. They lost a close one to Pikeville, just as we did, and they've also lost a tough one to a big number 10 team in Lindsey Wilson. This is kind of an offensive challenge team. They are only averaging about 15 points a game. They're about 200 or so yards. That's got to feel kind of good just looking at the stats purely, knowing how good of a defense you have behind you.
Yeah, Faulkner is always one of the most talented teams in the conference. Even, myself as a player at Campbellsville, remember going in and just kind of being in awe of the talent on the other side of the field, and had some really kind of classic games in my 2 years here against them. They're a team that's been in the playoffs, I would say, at least 5 or 6 times in the last decade. It's a program that expects to win. They have a very high standard. It's just a great area down there for them to recruit in. Have a lot of guys that transfer back into Faulkner from the area, from a lot of the Division II and 1AA schools in Alabama. So going to be a great challenge. They've had an extremely tough first 4 games, just probably the hardest first 4 games, with the AAC draw they got, and then also having Lindsey as their first conference opponent. So we expect to play a really good team down there. The record's probably a little deceiving. Some of the stats are probably a little deceiving. I mean, they've already played Reinhardt, U-Pike, and then Lindsey Wilson, as you mentioned as well, and then Southeastern, all probably top 10 or 20 defenses in the nation. So we expect them to be ready. I mean, they're looking at this game the same way we are, is that this is a game that to reach our goals and everything in the conference is a must-win. It's a road game, night game. They're going to have a great atmosphere down there. They're going to be fired up. We're going to get their best game. So it's a great challenge for our team, right? We've learned how to go on the road and win a conference game. Now can you go against a traditional power, a team that has been in the playoffs, expects to be in the playoffs, is going to have a ton of talent, and go into a night game environment there and win? This will be another huge step and opportunity for our guys.
Now we'll take a look into this just a little bit. This team gets into the backfield a lot. They have 31 tackles for loss on the season, and Emmanuel Olatane has 5.5 sacks, 8 total tackles for loss for about 30-plus yards. This is a team that really gets back there. Now, we've seen over the last couple of weeks, Jagger's been pressured a little bit more. He was sacked 5 times in that game last week. How do you go about preparing your quarterback for this type of a defense?
Yeah, one thing Jagger's done a great job of is maintaining his pocket presence, still trusting his drop, standing in, even with the pressure, right? A lot of those sacks have been either scheme sacks or coverage sacks, which really is on me at the end of the day, getting them in better situations. We've got to take the next big step in our screen game to kind of slow that pass rush down. It's something that I haven't done a good enough job of preparing our guys on that side of the ball. That really kind of alleviates a lot of the pressure, slows them down, makes them hesitate. And then really, like you say, getting in good down and distances with the run game to where it kind of keeps them guessing, right? If it's 3rd and 12, those guys can pin their ears back and really just pressure the quarterback full speed with no worry in the world. But, if it's 3rd and 3, everything in the playbook is available at that time. And then also just myself working with Jagger and the quarterbacks, a big challenge for this upcoming week we've already talked about yesterday in our initial meeting was how can we eliminate half the sacks that we're taking? That might be throwing the ball away. It might be trusting your progression and getting it out. It might be getting to your hot, your check down, might be taking off and eating, yards with your feet. And so that's a big challenge for Jagger and a huge next step in his progression as just a guy that's going to be, one of the all-timers at quarterback here over his career.
Now, this backfield for them, it's very good. They've got several players with 2 to 3 interceptions each. How do you, when you're looking at the film, is this something that could be possibly missed throws in terms of the past offenses, or is this just that good of a secondary?
Yeah, I think a combination of both, right? So very talented in the secondary. They really trust those guys back there. They're winning one-on-one matchups on the defensive side of the ball at times. On film, there's been some things where the quarterback has missed a read or overthrown the ball, and that's going to happen, right? I mean, that happens on our side as well. I think the big thing for us is our receivers doing a great job trusting the scheme. I actually think last Saturday versus Cumberland was the first time all year where the full wide receiver group just fully bought into, let's run my route the right distance, full speed, and see what happens. And what it does is, that guy will get the ball, but what it does is gets the other guys open. And then all of a sudden, a guy like Andre Seiler or Luke Shepperson, who's going to draw a lot of attention, creates a big opportunity for somebody on the opposite side of the field. And then the defense is kind of like, we don't know what to do because now both sides are capable and willing, and just makes it really fun when that's going on, when everybody's feeding off each other.
So this is probably the longest road trip besides Bluefield, but you go straight down pretty much I-65 all the way to Montgomery, Alabama, about a 6-hour road trip. What are you doing to prepare your team for a road trip like this? And it's obviously a little different when you're out of your home, you're out of your own bed, and you're doing things a little different. How do you go about getting your team ready for a road trip like this?
Yeah, longest trip, last overnight trip, last away game for a month. Which is exciting in a lot of ways. I think the players love the road trips, right? You're on the bus, we're watching football games, movies, we're eating at different places other than the cafeteria and the places around campus, which they always really enjoy. You're staying in, nice hotel beds, which everybody enjoys a little bit. So I think our guys have a great time. Obviously very unique that it's a 7 Eastern, 6 Central kickoff down there. So really handling Saturday will be the big challenge for us as a staff. We're already working through all of that, figuring out, what to eat, what times, where to walk through, how to kind of get through your Saturday to play a night game, right? It's something I never enjoyed as a player, don't enjoy as a coach, where you kind of sit around all day. Luckily, it is a Saturday and we're in college football season, so we can kill some time watching the games and having fun with that. But again, this is a huge opportunity for our guys because we might be in a playoff game at 7 p.m. Eastern in the central part of the United States or even the West Coast or down in Florida where we have to go beat a really good team in a night game after a long, couple of days of travel. So I think this is just an awesome thing. Again, it's going to be a great environment. Every experience I've had coaching and playing at Faulkner, they're always tailgating. They always do a really good job. It's a beautiful campus, great school, all that stuff. So I think our guys are excited. We've got some guys that's their home area. There'll be a great support. And shout out last week at Cumberland's, man, our crowd was unreal, man. It almost looked like a home game on our side, and Cumberland's did a great job as well. But excited to some of our guys to get back in their home area, probably the closest game for a lot of our families. So, just excited, and I think our guys are as well.
Oh, Coach, good luck. I can't wait to see you all down there. And as Coach mentioned, it is a 7 Eastern, 6 Central kickoff down in Montgomery, Alabama, as the Tigers look to take on Faulkner University and try to pick up their second Mid-South Conference win. You can follow the action with myself and Brett Sal on 88.7 The Tiger, and you can also find us on the TuneIn Radio app at WLCU FM or 88.7 The Tiger. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Under Center with Jake Russell.